These new measures will keep violent criminals and repeat offenders off our streets. They will protect the people we love, and they will deliver the justice that Canadians deserve.
Ottawa is moving ahead with promised bail reform aimed at cracking down on violent crime and repeat offenders. The federal government will table legislation next week. Prime Minister Mark Carney says it will amend the criminal code, allow for consecutive sentences for major crimes, and will include reverse onus bail for major crimes as well, which means an accused would have to prove why they deserve to be let out. For more on this, we are joined by criminal defense lawyer Jordan Gold. Mr. Gold, we appreciate this. Welcome to the program.
Thanks very much for having me.
So at first glance, your reaction to this?
Yeah, I don't think it's a big surprise. I also, we'll wait to see what the content of the bill actually is. It's not clear that it's going to be all that different from what the Conservatives were proposing. It's, sort of incremental changes to try to improve these areas that are concerning to Canadians.
So expand on that if you can, because this follows a Conservative bill. Pierre Poilievre, of course, quite vocal about this, and the jail not bail bill and 3 strikes you're out, et cetera. We've heard some of the slogans, but in terms of the specifics, they may differ in some ways. But how much? I guess the bigger question: how much does politics play into the introduction of this bail reform bill?
Well, I think it's a very good question. I think inevitably politics does play into it because much of what is being proposed is already in place, right? It's true that there are changes can be made to increase the number of offenses that are subject to a reverse onus, things like that. But the notion that people who are repeat offenders who have breached bail in the past or are alleged to have committed serious crimes, should be detained. The fact of the matter is, these things are all taken into consideration as it is by judges or justices of the peace when they decide in each particular case whether it's safe for the public to release this person pending their trial.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is from last year, January 2024, Bill C-48. I remember researching this, talking about the reverse onus introduction anyway on some of these major crimes, correct?
Yes, and there already is reverse onus for a large number of offenses. For example, most firearm offenses, most offenses that deal with an alleged breach. Somebody was out on bail and is said to have committed another offense. So, none of this is a completely new concept. The notion of expanding it to some more offenses seems reasonable if the goal is to ensure that people being released are not posing a threat to the public.
Okay, so we're dealing with a political issue, also a criminal issue when talking about the justice system. Certainly there's been appetite for this across much of the country, from the Conservatives certainly, and now the Liberals in many respects. You're speaking, you have the perspective, the interesting perspective of a defense lawyer. As it pertains to the average person in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. How does this apply to those individuals from your perspective?
Well, I think that's an excellent question because when we're talking about bail, everybody needs to remember we are talking about people who have not been found guilty of the offense yet. So when we talk about keeping violent offenders off our streets, punishing repeat offenders, that's not what bail is about. That's a different conversation. That's a sentencing conversation after somebody has been found guilty of an offense. Somebody who is charged with an offense has a right to a trial, of course, unless they want to plead guilty. So the notion that this person is a repeat offender and we should be keeping them off the street, the determination is until it can be figured out whether this person committed the crime at all or not, how do we balance that person's right not to be jailed preemptively for something they might not have done versus public safety, which is also a legitimate concern.
And public safety addressed with more police. Your reaction to that?
I think more resources for this entire process is always a good thing. I think that if our goal here is to make sure that the right people are detained and the right people are released, money also needs to go into the day-to-day grind, overly taxed system where, judges and justices of the peace, crown attorneys, and defense lawyers, especially duty counsel, who assist in most bail hearings are properly funded, because that's how you get the proper due attention to each individual case and make sure that the right decision is made.
That's an interesting point, and a very important one as well. We appreciate your time and your insights, sir. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much.
As criminal defense lawyer Jordan Gold joining us from Toronto.